Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Sonic Movie Show. My name is Ethan, and with me here to journey in the Mushroom Kingdom is my first and favorite power-up, Devin.
Doki, 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 do it. whatever, how it goes. Yeah, that's my quote.
Devin and I are going to be rescuing our favorite princess, Princess David. How's it going?
I love you. These are the words that Adam and Eve used.
That was a
that
line.
you
Oh,
both
no.
pulled
That was
the
a quote.
quotes from the song.
I saw that, and I was like, "Hey,
Oh, it's from the song. I saw that.
Yeah.
Also, the lyrics are, and of course, the girl's pretty banging too, which is such a
Whoa.
great thing. That
It is very
happened.
much an
What?
80s
I just feel like for like a
Japanese summer rock ballad.
yeah,
you know?
but I was also like, isn't this for kids?
The other one I wrote down was, "Oh, it's Mario ramen. This is very yummy."
yeah, there
which
are
is
two
which is an
product
ad,
placements in
which
this
is an
movie,
ad. That's a product
which I
placement.
love. I
Yeah.
love. I love.
Yeah.
Folks, here on today
yeah.
on the Sonic Movie Show, the boys and I and the boys even watched the 1986 anime film Super Mario Brothers: The Great Mission to Rescue Princess Peach. This was basically lost media until like a few years ago when a fan project like stitched it back together and restored it, and then also translated it as well. So that's what we've watched today, folks. If you probably haven't seen this film, because I think it's pretty safe bet that most people that would be even watching this type of show haven't seen this movie. You can just actually find it on YouTube, and I don't think it'll ever go down because I don't even think Nintendo has any claim to this really. It was a weird time with it being lost.
Like the other Mario movie in the 90s, they pretended it didn't happen.
That one they're ashamed of. This one I can see them being far less ashamed of. That movie they were like,
Well.
even though Devin and I agree, the Mario movie in the 90s, the live action with Bob Hoskins rules, but in ways that are like
Really?
it being an action movie, and the sets are amazing. And it's just
very
so
90s.
weird. It's
Anything
so
you like
fucking
about
weird,
the
but in a good way.
anything you like about the 90s, like in terms of movie making, magic, and just set pieces, costume design, weird writing, like it has all of that, and that's what I love about it. I get to an extent if you like went in being like, I'm getting a Mario movie. Like they could have renamed it to something else, and it probably would have done better. Like
They were very liberal on like
terms
what
of
the
the
definition means for sure.
It would have been better received, I think, in a more general populace way. If people just called it something else, it could have just become called Plumbers or something. It probably would have been.
Plumbers.
Yeah, then people would have been like, "This is a Mario ripoff, and it's awesome." You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Instead of, yeah. No, but this is an anime film, and this is the first, according to my research, the first film based off a video game, which kind of makes sense because we're getting so old here in '86. There aren't that many years of like what I would consider like real video games. Like there are like electronic amusements. You know what I mean? Like I don't really consider like Pong too much of a video game in the literal definition it is, but it's just an amusement, if that makes sense. Maybe it doesn't to some folks, but
I mean, was there
you
a
know.
Pong movie that's older than this?
No. But that's my
So
point
I
is that
Yeah,
like,
I'm
few
sure there's a
years,
tennis
we're good at
movie.
it.
They made a whole
Yeah.
sport off of it.
I mean,
Right,
to
yeah,
be
yeah,
fair,
true.
yeah. There's no Pac-Man movie that predates this, I guess, is the main point I'm saying.
Yeah.
But we watched it here today on the show. This is my third pick on our draft. Boys, you obviously remember that we each picked 6 movies out of a list of 24.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, right.
What?
We discarded obviously the 6, leftover ones, but we had 18 total films. This is our 7th movie on the list. I'm very excited to talk about it today. And I think we're just gonna delve right into it. I think we all kind of know what
We're gonna
Super
go
Mario
down that
is.
pipe.
I don't think we really need to explain, how much of Mario is Mario. I mean,
Well, can we at least talk about, I guess, in your Ethan capital G gamer opinion, the history of Mario at this point, like up until '86? Do you know offhand?
I was going to get into
speaking?
that a little bit. But and I guess you could say like we've all played a little bit of Mario here or there. I think you'd be hard pressed to be someone that's like an enthusiast about video games and hasn't played Mario somewhere. You kind of like it's like self-explanatory, but yeah. So this is 1986. Super Mario Brothers released in 85 in Japan and America. Remember, folks, you know, the NES came out in 85, but the Famicom, which is the Japanese version of that machine, a more interesting visual design, released in 83. But when we got that system as the NES, we got 2 years worth of video games as launch titles or launch window-ish era. So we got Super Mario Brothers and all the fun stuff right away. 86, this is the current Mario game. Yes, there was Mario Brothers, the arcade game before that, and Donkey Kong, the arcade game before that. I believe at least Donkey Kong was an NES port, but I don't think Mario Brothers was yet. I might be wrong. 87 is where Japan gets Super Mario Brothers 2 for Super players for the Famicom Disk System, which was their kind of floppy disk add-on attachment for the NES. So I mean, I'm going to be really quick about this because this is like top 5 most commonly video game knowledge spouted, you know, things on YouTube. But yes, America's Mario 2 is not the real Mario 2, but it actually is more of a real Mario 2 than Japan's Mario 2. If you were to look up Super Mario Brothers 2 Japan, which we call Super Mario Brothers Lost Levels, it's just what if Mario 1 was really fucking hard and hated you? That's what it is. It's just more Mario 1 with like wind
Mario
that
1,
blows backwards.
Dark Souls.
Warp pipes that take you back to the first level, poison mushrooms that just kill you. It's just Mario 1.
Jeez.
The graphics are different. They're not more detailed. They're just different. Like the ground palette is different, if that makes sense. And Luigi gets his slippery and higher jumps. So they differentiate from Mario. But that same team that made Super Mario Brothers made a game called Doki Doki Panic. Devin, you said Doki Doki.
Doki Doki Morning.
Doki Doki is the Japanese onomatopoeia for heart thumping. So that can be like love or excitement. Yeah. It's just the heartbeat going fast is what Doki Doki means. So the Mario people made a game called Doki Doki Panic in Japan. And then they saw that Mario 2 probably wasn't going to come to America because of North America. I don't know the full extent of why. I know someone said no, but whatever. And so they decided, well, if we take this game we just made. Yeah, it was Reagan. Well, if we take this game we just made and like improve it a bit and make it a Mario game, that's where we get our Super Mario Brothers 2. None of this has happened yet by the time this movie had come out. So like, this is 86. That game was 87 and 88. It did not exist at this point. So this is literally in the scope of things. Super Mario Brothers, the very first game, is all the Mario media that's out there. Besides, you know, your product placements, and I'm sure they had little doodles in a magazine or something like that. You know what I mean? But like, this is it. So, yeah. I guess real quick, what's everyone's favorite Super Mario Brothers game that they've played? David,
Mario Kart.
First.
Oh, I was gonna say, I think I played one of the first. I don't know if it was the first, but I played one of the Paper Mario games. I really enjoyed. I really enjoyed just turn-based combat games, so that was an obvious pick. But then my second favorite, God, I can't remember what it was called, but it was where you played. I think it was on the Game Boy SP or maybe the first DS. You played as Mario and Luigi at the same time. And I think
that
it was...
game was called Mario
also,
and Luigi.
Mario
Superstar
and
Saga.
Luigi, yeah.
It was an RPG.
Yes, that
awesome.
was it. Yeah.
I actually played that game. Like, this is Lost Sonic Movie Show lore. I don't even know if Devin knows this. I don't even know if Devin knows this. I played that game because you let me borrow it, David.
Oh,
in
really?
Like 6th grade, yeah. That's how I first heard of it. I'm like, how does David have no things about Nintendo?
Because of me.
I know. I wouldn't be anywhere without this man and his Bush's baked bean mug.
It's all started with Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga.
Yeah. And I know, I think you mentioned before, David, you played a lot of Super Mario Brothers 3 as a kid or something.
Yeah,
like
with my sisters. Well. I was never good at it, but my sisters used to get me through all the levels, and then I would play them until I gave up, and then they would continue.
I mean that's good, you know, older sibling. Honestly, be like, yeah, you could take credit for us doing all the.
Well, I think it was also when you could play 2 people, so like she would always be staying alive, and then she could like if you press continue, I got 5 more lives, and she would have like 30 or whatever.
Right, it was like you went back and forth.
Lives.
Luigi and then or Mario then Luigi back and forth. Yeah, so you kind of like keep that volleyball up in the air a little bit, because like you start over from the beginning. Well, I think Mario 3 you just start over at the world you're in, but Mario 1 you start at the beginning, which sucks. Devin, what's your favorite Mario game? And if you say Mario Kart, I'm gonna ask you for a number.
Mario Kart 8, whatever one's currently on Switch.
Solid.
But no, I liked Super Mario Odyssey. Ethan let me borrow that. See, it's my other lore.
Whoa.
Yeah, Ethan traded David's Mario and Luigi game for Super Mario Odyssey, and then again.
I don't quite remember that. I think there's like 20 years in between those events, but yeah.
It's like the story about how the guy traded a paperclip on eBay and eventually got a house out of it. Same thing.
Right,
it took 20 years, but eventually I got Ethan's copy. Let me borrow it. But no, I like that. But my first like memory of Mario really was when I first went to therapy when I was like 6. My therapist, when like I was waiting for my parents to pick me up, let me play like either Duck Hunt or Super Mario Bros. On his like SNES or whatever it was.
NES.
On the TV, like the big TV they had in the waiting room. So I was always like trying to get through the therapy session because I didn't understand what was going on. I'm like, I'm just trying to play Duck Hunt or Mario. I liked Duck Hunt more just because it was a little bit easier, just it's point shoot, you know what I mean? Compared to jumping around and whatnot.
That type of game is actually hard to recreate. Like you can't play Duck Hunt on a modern television. It doesn't work. The way the camera and that gun works.
See, we're holding
I know.
Our kids back. If God forbid a foreign nation invades us, they won't be prepared.
They ain't prepared with their orange pistols. I forgot. I always forget that it was like it feels weird to me to be like, oh yeah, they managed to cram 2 games into a cartridge. Like eventually, the Duck Hunt and Mario were in one thing. Especially if
that's probably what it was. That's probably what it was. I mean, this is
then later. I think
2002.
Tetris in. I forget as well. There was a third game bundled in there. There's a lot of different variations of that.
Frogger.
I don't want to say no, but I think it was Nintendo games, and that would have been Konami. My favorite Mario game is a Paper Mario game. It was actually remade earlier this year. Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door. That was for the Nintendo GameCube. Loved that game. I thought it's legitimately hilarious when I played it as a kid. It was very smartly written, I will say this. I haven't played the Switch remake. I will get it eventually.
I can ask my nephew. I bought it for him.
Really? It came out this year?
Yeah.
You gotta trade him a different game,
came out
just like you did.
There was an earlier Paper Mario game on Switch.
Maybe that's
a few
what
years
I gave
ago. But this was this year. Yeah, I just loved it because it's like instead of like your grasslands, your desert, your lava world, your ice world, like that game was like a haunted castle, a wrestling federation, like just like all this weird stuff and like characters talked and were very funny. That's probably mine. But if it was like a platformer, I guess Mario Galaxy 2 on the Wii was really good. I remember pre-ordering that game, I think from GameStop, but I got it in the mail, so maybe it was Amazon. And like I was determined in like one weekend to beat it and 100% it. And I think I got pretty close to doing it in that time frame. Really loved that game. Now, Super Mario Brothers 1, on the other hand, I've beaten it, but I don't think I've beaten it in like one go without like using save states or whatever, because this is a game where like, oh, you lost all your lives, start the whole freaking thing over.
Like Sonic and
a lot of people,
every game from that era.
Yeah. And like that's possible. Like I could do that, but like, do I want to like kind of limit myself and be like, no, I have to do it
classic
perfectly.
Gamer. I could do it.
Prove it. Exactly. I have nothing to prove though. I don't need to prove it to anyone. That's the point. That's why you use them. There's like whatever. I can beat this game. But yeah, this was the Nintendo at the time referred to as the ultimate cartridge video game. This was everything they could possibly do with the Nintendo hardware in a cartridge. Mario was supposed to be a culmination of that, Super Mario Brothers, and then they made the Famicom Disk System attachment. That's where you get like Zelda and Metroid, and then they realized this is too expensive, and then they also realized, wait, we can just cram chipsets into the cartridges themselves to do more with the hardware than the system can. Like Mario Brothers 3 can scroll diagonally. This system can't do that. That's scrolling in 2 directions at once, up and left and up and right. But there's a chip in the cartridge of Mario Brothers 3 that allows the system to do that. That type of stuff. They realize, wait, we can just save money by making our customers spend more on the cartridge because we put more hardware in it. You can't do that with discs. So, folks, boys and girls, but I'm talking to these boys here.
Lads.
I'm not calling you lads. I'm not calling you
brethren.
All right, lad.
We watched this animated movie. I've talked a
Rough.
lot, so I'm going to pass the baton off to one of you two.
Whoa.
And I want to ask. I know, even though this is my pick, I'm not going to go
It's your
first this
pick.
time.
I feel like okay.
I talk too much. David, what did you think about this movie? And did you remember to turn closed captioning on like Devin and I made a bet?
Yeah, I don't understand why you thought I was not gonna remember. Like, I don't speak Japanese, so it would have been obvious. Be like, huh, that's weird. It's up loud, but I don't understand what they're saying. Like, obviously,
it's up loud. As if the volume makes you understand a foreign language more.
Right. That's why. Right. That's why I was confused. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, you said this was a lost media that thankfully was refound. I am not so convinced of that fact. I mean, it was not like unbearable, but I got more into it probably the last third. But man, the build up to even him going on like the 3 quests, right? And then the final showdown, a little bit brutal. Let's see, what else? Sorry, I'm just reading my notes and laughing to myself because I wrote down Bowser a simp for real.
That's it. That's the classic story,
yeah,
you know?
There was a couple of things. I'm just going to go a tiny bit deep. They reference a bunch of time, like, because they're like Italian plumbers, but sometimes it felt like, I don't know, it felt a little bit racist almost. They're like,
Italian
oh,
phobic?
you with her long mustache, always looking for gold. And it's like, oh, okay.
Well, it's because you're like 2% Italian, so it really
maybe
because
yeah,
your ancestors
right here.
You know,
yeah. I didn't get that at all. You know,
really?
I was,
right.
you know, like, oh, this is a character trait of Luigi because I'm sure he had nothing beforehand.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I thought the ads were funny, but I mean, that's pretty brutal to have ads even back then, just in the middle of the movie.
I feel like it's worse now, honestly. As someone who watched a lot of movies, you'd be surprised. I'm like,
well, that's what I'm saying.
Even my favorite stuff, like Godzilla versus Kong, latest one has like a freaking Volkswagen, like just straight up commercial shot.
Than Godzilla. If Godzilla was like, buy my products, that's a lot different than buy their products.
Yeah.
I meant more just like I was saying, like product placement. I feel like is
much more now.
I feel like it's
and that's
picked
what I'm
up
saying
the
is
last
like
couple of years.
Back then, like I don't think that used to be a thing as much, so I was like surprised to see that.
Yeah, they left that
movie
for commercials when it was on TV. Like, you know, they leave it for commercials.
I guess. Let's see. I mean, some of the when I guess we'll get into it more later, but when he used the powers, when he like absorbed the flower or the mushroom, like I was sort of surprised that it didn't seem like he got the benefits that you would expect from like those things in the game. Like it didn't appear like that. He just got like stronger and
definitely not
allowed
at the
him
end,
to fight
for sure.
Yeah. So I guess that's good for now. As we delve deeper, I'll say more. But
I'm a little surprised, Devin. What did you think?
Yeah, so I'll preface this by saying, as I think out of the 3 of us here, I watch maybe a lot more movies than you all, and I'm not afraid to like watch sometimes older movies. Like a couple months ago, I watched Stagecoach, one of the first like big Western films, one of the first films to have like the kind of hero shot that like Marvel movies use to this day, and I'm not afraid to watch old movies because I mean sometimes there's ones where I'm like, yeah, maybe at the time this was more exciting or whatnot, and but I can appreciate certain elements of it.
I'm like that with video games.
Yeah,
so I understand completely.
That's like, yeah, unfortunately this isn't gonna be like, they didn't have either, whether it's the industry standards aren't the same back then, or they didn't have the technology to do certain things. So
Mario and Luigi weren't unionized.
So like movies, yes, that's the main difference here. No, I mean like some older movies just they are part of their time, and yes, they can be considered classics, and you can respect them and whatnot. And like kind of what David said, and David said about what Ethan's comment about like this was lost media, and like someone kind of found it, put it back together, and 4K remastered it, and then put time in to dub it. And I think that's good. It's good to preserve, I think, all pieces of art, even ones that maybe you think is not good, or maybe sometimes there's movies that are very racist, and I think it's still good to preserve those. So that'd be like, hey, look how hopefully far we've come. Hopefully, with all that said, I think this movie falls into that category for me, where it's like I can respect for people who want to put time into preserving this film, and I think it's beautifully like preserved. Like I think a lot of the colors look really great in it. A lot of like the shadows on like in terms of like the use of black, like make it really pop. It really feels like, I could almost see like the artist's, design in it, like the actual touch to it, which I think is really cool. But I think this is one of these movies that like, it just, for me, I'm just like, man, if this was longer than an hour, I honestly probably would have fell asleep. Like I was having a hard time staying awake watching this movie. Yeah. Granted, I did watch it after work, so that probably didn't help, but so I will say that. But I just feel like this movie is a good, like, of its time film. But I think in modern standards, it probably just, most kids would probably be like, I don't want to watch this anymore, Dad. Can you put back on Bluey, please?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Or Skibbity Toilet, whatever people are watching now.
Skibbity Toilet. I mean, I don't want to cut you off, but I just, on that comment specifically, I don't even know if kids back then would like be loving watching this.
I mean, I don't know.
Maybe
I'll say
Mario
this.
was very new, but so it's not like when the Mario movie came out in the 90s where it's like, we're finally getting a Mario movie. This is going to be cool. Like, I can imagine that build up to excitement. This is a year later. So I get it. Like, oh, this is a current thing, and there's a current thing about it.
Yeah, I was going to say this, though. I mean, like, there's cartoons like, Roadrunner and Tom and Jerry, which were very popular at this time and still are to a degree today. I think for me, I never liked that stuff because I found Yu-Gi-Oh, Pokemon, Digimon, all that stuff.
Animation, that's
SpongeBob. Right. I liked all, that I found that more entertaining. But I know like Tom and Jerry stuff that like my dad watched and was like, that was our SpongeBob. Like that's, you know what I mean? So like, things get better over time. And I think in art where people adapt from things, I think, things like Tom and Jerry are super influential. You can always go back to Steamboat Willie with Disney and stuff. And like, they are super influential to this day. But like, you can watch some of those old ones and they're probably not as entertaining as, maybe a critic would say, oh, Steamboat Willie was a classic like of that time, and I'm sure there's movies that we like now that like 40 years from now, I might be like, oh, you had to see Twisters, dude, in the theater. It's freaking amazing. And I'm sure there's going to be someone in 2070 being like, it was all right.
About Twisters, and I'm actually might go see that movie now.
I convinced my brother and my mom to see it, and they're like, oh, it was great. So it's a movie. It's a movie. I would recommend watching the first one just so I think it's better because of it.
Sure,
anyways, but yeah, I won't go too much more in detail here. But yeah, I kind of am with David where I'm not sure. I think if I would have to know more about Japanese like cartoons, I feel like that were happening in the 80s to see, or anime rather. Like to see what was popular, but I know like anime in the 80s, like things like Akira came out around then, and that was like one of the first like anime movies that had an impact in Western audiences too. So like, I still think, I mean, anime's been around for a lot longer than Americans realize, but I don't know what else was happening really in that era in terms of outside
there was like
of Dragon
Lupin
Ball
the
Z
Third type shit around this time and earlier as well. If I can now piggyback.
I just wanted to follow up on so Tom and Jerry started in 1940s.
I was going to say it's a lot older than the 80s for sure.
Yeah,
I'm saying
looking
it was
at
still
some
a
of the
thing,
1954 ones, and
to hell, yeah.
It looks like normal Tom and Jerry that like we saw.
Well, I'm saying it still was like one that went on for a while, and it's considered a classic for a reason. But I'm saying like I don't think like a lot of people our age or a little bit younger care for Tom and Jerry because it had its run. That's what I'm trying to say. I think this movie looks
unlike
a lot
this
like
show, the Sonic movie show, which is like even now when the year you're watching this 4032, you know, like you're still engaged and raptured.
Someone's preserving these episodes in 4032. They're like, these were classics, and if someone's watching this, like, podcasts have come a long way since then.
Look how far it's come.
Holy shit.
All right. I will say this. I enjoyed it, but not to the extent of like, oh yeah, more of like what Devin's saying of like, oh, I can appreciate this a lot. I think a lot of my enjoyment comes to a surprise factor about what it was. Both like, yeah, I've seen some images, obviously, in knowing it exists and getting a thing for our like album art of all of our movies. But it didn't really dawn on me on how like not anime looking it was. It's definitely more Western, Hanna-Barbera looking stuff. Obviously that's not entirely the same, and this is a film, so they're not skimping on the budget as much as possible like Hanna-Barbera did in Yogi Bear, Flintstones, and all that, the Jetsons, all that stuff. You get like Space Ghost Coast to Coast because like that Adult Swim show, because they just literally took old Cell's animations and just like kept reusing them to make a talk show out of. But like this has that look to a degree. I mean, even like the old woman that comes into their grocery store at the beginning, I'm like, oh, you look like a Popeye character. And then my brain goes, Mario was supposed to be a Popeye video game, or Donkey Kong was supposed to be a Popeye video game, and Nintendo didn't get the rights because Miyamoto loved Popeye. They did eventually, but make that Popeye game. But like, so like, okay, I can see that early influence is in there, because a lot of what we view as what Mario is, or a lot of Nintendo stuff, comes through what Nintendo wants us to see it. I've said this many times on the podcast before, but Nintendo is very good at training its audience to see only what it wants them to see, to legitimize only the things they want to acknowledge. Like Nintendo has convinced people that the Zelda CDI games aren't real video games. No, those are real games. Nintendo licensed to another company. They have the characters. They are official products. They existed. But Nintendo basically has I don't want to say brainwashed, but convinced, its fans that none of this stuff existed. Same thing with like the Virtual Boy to a lesser extent and all that stuff. Like, no, that's not real. Not real. We don't want to acknowledge that because we're ashamed of it. So when it comes to like that origin of like early Mario, a lot of people I feel like don't really know about that stuff because Nintendo's like, no, it's kind of like what Mario 64 and onwards is. Charles Martinet, that voice, and and we're not, that movie in the 90s doesn't exist. You know what I mean? Like all that stuff. Like this is the identity now because we have stuff to sell you now. When it becomes maybe a financial interest for them to dig into the well a little bit and be like, here you go, this is $80 now, buy it. Then they'll do that stuff. So it actually was a bit of a surprise to me. Like, oh right, this is what the influence was for these characters. Was the shit Devin's talking about with Tom and Jerry and stuff like that. It's that. It's the stuff that these game creators grew up watching is what they go on to make, right? Just like how Indiana Jones was based, off an inspiration of all the pulp novels, that Spielberg and Lucas, read when they were kids, that type of stuff, right? So to see this movie and be like, oh yeah, this is more in line with that weird type of adventure, like, oh, instead of like, a story with like arcs and stuff. We just have, you know, insulated like isolated like instances of stuff of a weird a thing, an obstacle the boys come across, and what are they gonna do when they move on? That type of Devin, I saw you raised your hand, and David, you raised your hand as well. So Devin, you're going
I
first.
just was waving,
and then David.
No, I just want to add to your point, Ethan. I did look up like just the Wikipedia page about this movie, and it's considered a. I'm probably butchering this. I'm literally doing Duolingo right now for Japanese. So I'm trying my best to still like learn the pronunciation, but. This is considered, it's one of the earliest isekai animes, which is a...
Isekai, yeah.
Isekai, sorry. Which means different world, another world, or other worlds.
Yeah,
and which
like,
was a thing in
David
the early 80s.
David has been transported to the medieval times. Whatever am I? That's that idea.
Yeah, half of the plot devices typically, it says here, allows the audience to learn about the new world at the same pace as the protagonist over the course of their quest or lifetime. But yeah, this was... early 80s is when these were kind of starting to become a thing. So this is of that era. So I just answered my own question. That's all I was trying to Google, like to see if they have like a label for this type of movie, to see what it relates to.
A lot of those types of stuff, especially in the 90s and later, were inspired by all those creators playing Dragon Quest a lot on the Famicom and NES and being like, I love this game so goddamn much, I wish I was in this world. I'm going to write a story in which a guy like me gets sucked into a world like this, and the girls are hot. Like that type of stuff.
And they all are interested.
Yeah, that's exaggeration,
and
but
they're
still.
I can't choose which one. I guess I get them all.
Oh, right. Yeah, the Dragon Quest movie we watched. That's right. Yeah, so like again, I was surprised at like what this was, and that gave me more enjoyment than I was expecting. I was going in to be like, I don't know what I'm getting into. This could look really ugly for all I know. Even though despite, and again, like for the sake of like a review, none of like the fan restoration stuff, and I guess even the translation to a degree is going to count because like they did not make the movie. But obviously we need to be able to know what they said, so you know.
Kaneko Video was the restoration group, by the way.
And Fanboy Films. And I'll actually say this too, because in the closed captions that David didn't turn on, they had the credits for the team that did the restoration
that's
project.
Right, I speak Japanese.
And then I think it was in the special thanks towards the end or whatever, it mentions Forest of Illusion. I'm like, oh, it was a huge like a fan site and like a small book series of like. This guy, it's got a tomato for an avatar, and it's in his like handle. I forgot his actual name. Knows like Japanese really well, and actually like delves into this era and earlier like Nintendo and Japanese game stuff to be like, hey, there's a lot of stuff that's like common but distant knowledge in Japanese memory of this era of video games that like for whatever reason just does not get written down in English. Like people just don't know what some of the stuff is, and so like that guy is kind of an expert on this era. So to see like, okay, yeah, they worked on it as well. But again, not technically a part of this review. I will say this though, I'm not gonna say this is like a fantastic film or anything like this. I'm definitely more in like the middle of like, yeah, it was okay. This is definitely more of like I don't know what the equivalent of a Saturday morning time to sit down and watch cartoons a Japanese child might have had in the 80s, because I think they actually had school on Saturdays, and maybe it was Sunday, for all I know, or in the summer. But this felt more of like a thing to have on the television that's cool, and I like these characters, I've been playing this video game, and wow, this is neat. So I enjoyed it, but like I'm not like over the moon about it. That's kind of where I'm at. So on the film itself, we have Mario, who's wearing his red overalls because this is what he had at the time. We had Luigi, who is blue, which goes back and forth between blue or like white and green.
He had an interesting color palette. Yeah. That I just feel like clothing wise.
You have Princess Peach, sure. Who I swear is voiced by maybe a 7-year-old. Actually, she did pretty well. I was surprised. We're saying Mario is actually. I felt like, oh yes, it's a child because it sounds cute. Like this sounds like like a 3-year-old saying Mario. Bowser, or I guess King Koopa, is even in America, this is what they called him at the time. I think it might have been Mario 64.
So it's a Bowser. Dr. Eggman to Dr. Robotnik situation.
A little bit more complicated than that because he was always King Koopa in both places.
Well, I'll say this. Hashtag not my Bowser. My Bowser wouldn't be this desperate.
Bowser's always been this desperate.
But he's like transforming. He was transforming, which I'm like, that's weird. My Bowser wouldn't do that. I don't like him transforming to objects and things.
I wrote down Bowser really the give me a hug guy.
Oh,
he's like literally transforming into something else to get love, you know?
Yeah. Hey, he was kind of he's more of a baby in this to me. Like he isn't like he's desperate in like the video games, at least the ones I've played. But he was like at least like
type of stuff,
But he was like at least felt like a, you know, I don't know, it's like more of a classic monster. You know what I mean? He didn't feel like a baby. It felt like a baby here. He was like, please love me, please, I'll do anything for you. But then I'll get mad and throw a tantrum.
He's
you know, I don't
emotionally
know.
manipulative. I don't think you boys have played it before, but Super Mario Sunshine, he tricks his child, Bowser Jr., into thinking Peach is his mom, so he would kidnap him. Like, that's how gaslighty Bowser is.
Maybe not. I don't know, but... Or maybe you're right, but I don't know.
There's also
like it was just caught off guard. I feel like his voice also just didn't match to me. Once again, modern
weird.
Bowser.
It's such like a higher.
I think that's part of the element. It made me feel like he was like a baby boy, just like
yeah.
I want milk. Like that's I was waiting for him to
definitely
ask.
a boy, not a man.
He doesn't deserve the crown.
That blue dog thing that turned into Prince Haru. It's just a character made up for this.
That was insane.
Strange.
The end.
Mario
that was a twist.
For lack of a better
expecting.
word, Mario gets cucked at the end. Like,
literally,
he does. That's which I thought was funny. That was like the most hilarious part of this whole thing was that like he did all the work, and then the prince is like, "Yo, babe." It's like, I don't know. It's like here. You're hanging out. It's like in high school or something. You're hanging out with the girl all day. You really think you're hitting it off, and then like. Oh, you say goodbye. She gives you a hug, maybe even, and then like her cool fucking boyfriend pulls up in like a sick pickup truck or a motorcycle or something. He's like, "Yo, babe, we want to go bowling?" And then you're like, "Fuck."
You're like, "Shit, how am I?" I have a Toyota.
Or you want to go drink? Like they'll say something cooler that like, and I'm like, I'm just a nerd. Like, I can't do anything.
yeah, and like that actually kind of helps the Bowser thing a bit too. Like neither of these boys are getting it, you know what I mean? But they're both like they're both out there to foil each other in a way. And actually, you played Mario Odyssey, Devin, as kind of a thing at the end there too, where they're both trying to get Peach, and she says no. Yes, that was weird. I think so. They're watching this movie. I'm sure any some younger fans tend to do this, but I was like this too when I was in high school and younger. They'll see like things like, oh, this had to have been the inspiration for this. Like when there's the airship. The airships are in Mario 3, not Mario 1. So like that's where they got the inspiration from this movie. And then the history is actually they wanted airships in Mario 1, but they couldn't. They also wanted a horse
Hindenburg
in Mario
was a big
1.
issue back then.
And I think that's where this dog came from, was the idea of they wanted Mario had to have a horse, and they're like, this isn't possible. You get Yoshi in Mario World because it's possible.
Oh my god.
Mario swinging Bowser by the tail is how you beat him in Mario 64, but it's not like they dug the well for this movie. It is possible for them to have a lot of ideas all the time. They're like, this is it
definitely was
cartoon character that they have.
I was going to say there's weird stuff in this movie, which I did appreciate. It's the 80s. Everyone was doing cocaine. So and it was cool to do cocaine. So I appreciate it from that front because there's some weird, trippy stuff that happens. That you only get from this era of cartoons to a degree. So I really liked that. I did like all the the shell dude, all the different shell dudes. I did like that the Koopas were or Goombas, sorry. The Goombas were they could talk and stuff. Now I wish in the games they gave them more personality now.
Right.
Well, if you played those Mario and Luigi games David's a fan of, there's I think 6 of them. Yes, they do talk, but I like that they were mischievous henchmen things. Did not like the fact that they gave them arms. you see that when they're like
I didn't
hanging
even
in the
notice
lava
that,
area towards the end, and they're like pressing the levers, they have these weird little like spindly arms. And like that was unsettling. I didn't need to see those. I didn't need to see those at all.
I felt. I guess I mean a lot of these characters, like you guys are saying, like I feel like I enjoyed them as a fan of Mario games, but then like also in the back of my mind it was like, oh, they're just showing all of these characters. Like it felt sometimes it was like, oh, and we have this character. Remember this character that's in the game? Like, and we have, the Hammer Bro. And
but
like the Hammer Bro like didn't even have that.
Were...
No, I know, but it felt like they could have delved into a couple more of the characters and left out like some of them,
I think to me, like I get what you're kind of saying. I think you could do it. I think with this, but this once again, like I think this is made for kids, so they kind of can get away with this, which is just here's the thing you like, yay,
right.
Here's Batman, oh yes, the Joker's here, don't worry. Like
I guess
doesn't matter how we got there. So I'll say that, but I also get with what you're saying too. At one hand, you could I think do a way of you don't need to show everything because it felt very like episodic without there being actual
very
episodes.
Isolated instances of an obstacle.
Yeah, it's like,
oh,
now we ran into these guys that you remember from the game, and now we ran into these guys from the game.
There's
like
that
I get
many enemies in Mario 1. There's like I think honestly like maybe 6. Yeah, not even including Bowser. But yeah, for sure.
I guess I was
this movie actually taught me what
have...
Lakitu was supposed to be. It's supposed to be play on some like yokai Japanese spirit thing. Is the guy in the clouds that throws the spinies? That's Lakitu.
Oh.
I didn't realize that was based on a thing. That's just Lakitu. He's a weird guy. He throws spiny turtles at you. I didn't realize he was like a weather god thing or whatever. Yeah.
I guess I just wanted them to have like something more important. Like it felt like Mario just beat them all the same way, which was just by running away. Like there was no like defeating them. It was just luck and just running away. So it was like
I did like the bird
physics of gravity and whatnot.
I did like the bird section because that was
because he did trick them into. I did like that where he bites Luigi's nose and be like, "Let me see this food's probably rotten. Oh, I'm gonna die." Yeah.
And I just like that the birds were like the baby birds were like chill with them. Like I just thought that was cool. So
this movie also does a very very classic Japanese comedic beat of like someone just so happy that they're like yeah and they're talking out loud about the thing, and then someone mentions something that is contradicts that or not happy or whatever, and then they just start saying that thing still happy and not realizing, and then later like huh. Like it's that face of
Nani?
Like, what? Yes, it's the Nani, which means what? It's like that thing where this movie does that several times. Where I'm like, okay, I was curious to see how this would hit for folks that might not are used to that, because I don't really feel like we get that this much. Where that's like a very silly thing to just be instantly oblivious, and then you bring it right back for a like, huh? Type moment.
Yeah, I think it's happened. Like, I feel like I've definitely seen it. I just can't give you an exact example. It's definitely happened in like our cartoons, but obviously not.
Like
I don't think as often as. Yeah, I mean, SpongeBob also. We can do a whole.
Well, that's goated, legendary, greatest thing of all time. That's like a tier higher than God. So.
Oh, sorry, I didn't realize it was
S tier.
I mean, I love SpongeBob,
S equals SpongeBob. So
whoa, okay.
Well, yeah, above we have the A, B, C, D, and then S is at the top, but then there's SB. So.
SpongeBob,
and then SB, SP, SquarePants.
SpongeBob's.
One. Just quick thing, this is just unrelated to anything else, but
Perfect.
I wrote down one of my quotes was, "Oh, it's Mario Ramen. Like this is very yummy, folks." And I was like, "Oh, is this one of the first fourth wall breaks? Like he addresses the crowd watching?" I was like, "Oh, it's interesting to think about."
I wonder if there is Mario.
Certainly for
Mario
a video
Ramen
game
out
movie,
there.
because this is the first. But yeah, and then there was the Mario Brothers rice seasoning packet that was in.
Yeah.
I did like real quick at the beginning. Mario was playing presumably a Famicom, And he's playing some game where a kid with a baseball bat bats away enemies, and he's trying to get a high score because this was in an era where that mattered in games like in Sonic. Devin, do you ever care about the score? No.
No, because I always got D
there.
tier.
It's like, yeah, if you want to play that a million times, I guess that's a metric to grade yourself on, but that's not even the point. Same thing with Mario. And I did like when like the TV does some weird stuff and you see Peach and she has a stick and she's beating them away. I'm like, oh, okay, that's a fun. He's interested because she's doing the thing like his video game.
I want to point out that scene that was ahead of its time in terms of the meme of the what boys have in their house. And that's it. It's like
the
just
male
the chair
subreddit.
Yeah, it's just like a blank room with the chair and then the TV. Yeah. He had that.
A TV with Bloodborne.
So I guess that hasn't changed. I guess that's a generational
seems like enough.
thing.
I did find this very weird. I didn't care because again, this is I get the feeling of an old Hanna-Barbera weird cartoon type of thing where it's like that's a television with playing a video game. Electricity. Yet they live in a saloon town and Luigi's walking around with a candle. Like it's the 20s.
Because they're spending all their electric budget on just that TV.
True. Yeah.
Wow.
There's the lore.
Wow. Okay, fair.
See, they're real gamers, Ethan. Putting all the resources into their
it's like the streamer that like has spent, their millions of dollars on the stream and like they still live in an apartment,
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like they built that TV. That's back then. He didn't build computers. He built TVs.
Also Bowser working for them at the end at their shop is funny because it's like whatever, just a throwaway gag at the end. Yeah, I feel like honestly my thoughts are all summed up. Oh, I will say this. I did like those like I mentioned, I called them Japanese summer rock ballads. But I enjoyed that. I think they played too often. I think that pads the runtime a bit, but I still enjoyed it. But what I kind of got dull with was this happened in the Piranha Plant section, and then whatever enemy situation that happened after that, maybe with Lakitu, where they're playing just the Mario Underground theme in level 1, 2, or whatever.
They did
just
it multiple
on loop
times
with nothing added to it. Like I enjoyed the sound effects being added in. I enjoyed the musical themes being added in, and this film also had its own score. But that was like, I feel like there was a layer to this that's not being added, like a drum beat, for instance.
Well, Ethan, I'll say this: you've been critical of movies like this, our Sonic movie, our prized possession, not using the video game soundtrack, and they just straight up use the video game soundtrack. So you got caught.
I'm a fraud. This is me saying that it would be like if the Sonic movie just played Green Hill Zone on loop the whole time with nothing else. That's what this felt like. Where I'm like, why are we doing this, guys? Like, these kids have heard these songs more than enough. You know what I mean? I don't think they need to be reminded of that. It's cute to have it in there for sure.
There was one comedic bit though I want to shout out because I did laugh at with the music was when he takes all the different mushrooms for the first time. Once again, 80s is cool. We're pro drug use.
Right.
At this era, hey kids, definitely take the mushrooms out in the woods. God. Go for it.
It makes you laugh, makes you sad, makes you
angry. That's what it does. Yep.
It does.
It's called One Trip, I think. But no, like when he had one of the mushrooms, the music just stopped and there's no audio, and then he does something. I thought that was funny. Like it was kind of abrupt. Like, oh, I took the anger mushroom. And then he's sad, anyways. Still, yeah. So I liked that part. But also, I totally forget Bowser has a father. Did we say that? I don't know.
I don't think. Well, we didn't mention that in the episode so far, but I don't. That's one of the things where I think him, the father, and like the wizard guy. I don't know if it was even a wizard, just an old man at the beginning when Mario meets him. Those are made
Gandalf.
For this. I think Gandalf. Same thing with the prince at the end and the blue dog. Definitely made up characters for this, unless I'm wrong, and it's in the manual. Actually, what is in the manual of Super Mario Brothers that is mentioned here is that all those bricks that Mario beats up are like toads transformed into them. It's written in the manual that, like, yeah, Bowser, with his magic, King Koopa transformed all the Mushroom Kingdom citizens.
Once again,
into bricks
these are drug thoughts. You don't come up with these ideas without
that's insane.
some enhancements.
That's why there's coins everywhere. Also, did find it funny. All the toads are like little girls. You know, like
they were,
what we
like,
imagine
weird...
as the classic toad is like the male.
They remind me of
guy.
like mystical, like in terms of like classic fantasy, like fairies,
I see, like,
or
there
something.
Are a bunch of
like
Tinkerbells. Yeah, fairies, for sure.
Yeah. Just like weird. Like, should I trust them? They're not gonna hurt me, I don't think. Like, they're too cute and, like, you know, dainty to hurt me, but like they be giving me mushrooms. I don't freaking know. Like,
yeah.
But
okay, I think it's probably best that we move on to kind of talk about our tier systems. Any other final thoughts we have before we move on?
I don't think so.
Luigi had a coin addiction. I wrote that down. I thought that was funny.
Oh,
bro is has a gambling
one
issue.
time.
They have a small business, you know. Like, I
think he's gambling it. I think he's gambling it away.
Yeah.
That's my. You're not
There's
that
definitely
addicted to
an
coin.
addiction.
Listen, you're
Mario
telling me,
wasn't that addicted.
You're telling me if you saw gold coins the size of like baseballs,
bro, he wasn't
diameters
trying
around,
to
you would be like,
participate
I gotta
in the
get as
story.
many of these as possible.
He wasn't trying to participate with anyone. He was just like, I'm mining for gold.
They're in
I'm
like a
mining for
survival
coin.
situation. Like, they're trying to survive this
that's
world.
obsessive.
He's worried about like coins.
Luigi only signs
talk
up
about
for
it in
this
therapy.
journey because he says, we're getting paid for this, right? To the old man. And he's like,
point
there's
made.
plenty of gold coins to find on the way. He's like, all right. Actually, at one point in like it was the first music montage where they're walking, you know, and Mario was like beating an enemy or something like that, or jumping over an obstacle, and Luigi gets some coins, and he runs into the background to, I think, is supposed to be like a Vegas like casino land, and comes back. So
see,
I think you're right. He's got.
I think it's subtly like he has a gambling addiction. That's why he sees gold coins.
Right. If
back
you find
then,
the
be
money
getting
on
the coins
ground,
out of the machine.
It was never your money to really earn. So, like, whatever, you know, see if you throw it away. It's fine. It's fine. Gambling's okay, folks. I'm kidding. It's probably not okay. All right. So here on the Sonic Movie Show, again, Super Mario Brothers: The Great Mission to Rescue Princess Peach is our 7th movie here so far, and we give them scores, and we give them based off their tiers.
We do.
And we kind of have a little bit of a game off of it. It was a draft, not a giraffe, but a draft. Episode 201, I believe, is the draft episode.
Mm-hmm.
Now, how do we arrive at these tiers? Well, we talk it out and we decide, you know, hey, I think it's this, I think it's that. And we kind of meet somewhere in the middle, but usually so far we've been like at most one person's off, or not off.
I think the only one we had like big disagreements on was the Max Payne one. That was our first like real like good debate I think we had.
It was a fun episode.
Low.
Yeah, exactly. And we had to convince Devin to which one we wanted to be on. That's right. But I'm going to convince Devin right now to go ahead and kind of just tell us like what these different tiers are in 3 minutes or less. Last time and the time before that, he did really well. Let's see if he can perfect
I don't remember what my PR is, but we're going to try to beat it. So folks at home, get your stopwatches ready.
Alrighty, and go.
So, folks, we have a tier system, S, A, B, C, D, E, F, and Ethan and I have been ranking these video game movies for the last couple of years in these tiers, and then now David's joined us, and he helps us too. So our tiers are, S, like I said, S, A, B, C, D, E, F. S is the superior films. These are films that we would recommend to anybody, high-tier video game films. Like I said, sorry, I didn't say this, but they're all in a scale. I'm already a mess. I'm not getting my PR. I'm just letting y'all know. Where they're all in a video game movie scale. So, like an S tier video game movie might only be an A or B in regular movie tiers, but still, we put them in the S tier. They deserve it. These are superior video game movies. Examples are Sonic the Hedgehog 2, Prince of Persia: The Sands of Time, and also Detective Pikachu. And then we have A tier, which is still a really good tier. I love when we get A tier movies, because sometimes we have debates of, are they S tier? You know, but these are really, really good movies, whether they have great cinematography, very faithful to the video games themselves, or just all around fun. We don't really have too many critiques of them. Maybe they're just missing that special sauce to get them to S tier. Then we have B tier. Oh, sorry. A tier example would be like Tomb Raider, the newest one, and then Sonic the Hedgehog, the first one. B tier, we have Dead Space Downfall, Mortal Kombat. That's the 1995 one. The first Resident Evil movie. And these are movies that, maybe we have some grievances with, maybe some parts could have been better, but still all around really, really solid movies, good movies. Once again, this is a spot I hope that every time we watch a movie, we're at least in B and up, because B movies are fun as well. So C tier is, unfortunately, though, the most of our movies are in, which is kind of just middle of the road. They're just average. Maybe there's some really cool stuff in it, but then there's some stuff where I'm like, I don't care for this. Maybe it has a great first half and not a great second half. Sometimes it's C tier, I feel like has the biggest range of possibilities in terms of reasons it goes there, but the best way to put it into one word is average. It's okay. Some movie examples are half of the Resident Evil movies, Corpse Party, Angry Birds, Tekken Blood Vengeance are in there. And then we get to D, and D tier, logically would be kind of more bad than good. After going from average and C, you're kind of just like, this movie kind of sucks. Maybe there's a couple good things in it, but it's not pulling its weight for the rest of the film. There's a lot more negative stuff in it. Maybe there's some big grievances we have sometimes in it, but maybe the movie's still well made enough that you could get it to D tier. I think sometimes that's the difference between D and E, is that, maybe it's well made and they tried, but it's just boring maybe. But examples are Assassin's Creed, which is a well-made movie with great actors in it. It's just one of those stories that's just like, why should I care? I don't get what the point is. Then you have Resident Evil Afterlife and Resident Evil The Final Chapter, which we were at that point, we're kind of sick of Resident Evil. We have Warcraft, visually appealing movie, but it's I don't know what happened. I don't remember.
That honestly is a perfect summation of the movie. Beautiful. Yeah. But what?
Then we got E tier, which is, I hope none of the movies ever get here, but that happens sometimes where they're downright bad and they don't really have many redeemable factors in them. Sometimes the acting's really bad on top of it being a bad movie, so you can't even be like, hey, it was fun that the actors tried or whatnot. It's just not good. You know it when you kind of get it, unfortunately. It's just bad. Then we have F tier, which I never, ever want to see another movie in this list, because that means we watched something that is very offensive, downright blasphemy. All right. And I don't mean that in a it has Satan in it. I mean, Satan should have came in and told him not to make this movie, because it's what the fuck are you doing? Postal's the only movie on this list. And it's because it's a movie we would never, ever recommend. Do not pay money for it. Don't even pirate it. Don't even give it your time. F tier.
All right. Thank you, Devin. You did not beat your PB at all.
I know, but it's practice.
We looped back around we're just in the C tier now in this video. But hey, you know what? I think, though, despite that, better explanation of the tiers than the ones where you did go fast. So,
See, I'm trying to balance the quality and the quantity right now.
Exactly. So
I've been in the
through all of this. This is the rubric for how points are awarded. It's a very simple. S is 6, A is 5. It just counts down. F, you get 0. So I'm going to be earning some points. However, in addition to me earning some points, there's the potential for both David and Devin to earn some points, or perhaps maybe lose some points because they've counterpicked this movie. So each of us had 2 counterpicks we can give. One for each of the other 2 people. So I have a counterpick for a David movie. I have a counterpick for a Devin movie. They each had a counterpick for an Ethan movie, and they picked this movie both. What that means is ignoring what we want as points. When we arrive at our tier, I will get my normal points that I would get for that thing, and then they will have an adjustment to their scores based off of the counterpick points. So if it was an S tier, they would lose 2 points. If it was an A tier, they would lose 1 point. If it was B, nada. If it was C, they'll gain a point. D, they'll gain 2. E, they'll gain 3. And if it's another Postal, if it's F tier, they'll gain 4 points, which is huge. I don't lose these points, and same thing for them with their counterpicks. Nothing happens to me. It's just bonus time for them.
I was gonna say I don't remember. I don't think we did, but we did talk about it. But I don't. Now I'm misremembering. But did we make it tougher on the counter picks? I forget. Did we update the numbers? Because I know we talked about it, but I don't remember. Just for audience's sake too.
Well, behind the scenes, I put out hey, are we okay with this? This is our first counter picks coming up. We cool with this? And you guys said it was both okay. This is adjusted from when we did it last season, where I think I slid the numbers up the spectrum. I think it was -3, -1, or 3, -2, -1, 0. And because we had both of our counter picks were C movies, where all right,
it was 0.
We just don't get any points at all, so it was boring. So at least C, you'll get a point because the scale slid up a little bit. So because this is my film, I get to make the pitch first. I think this is a D. I think you can find this film extremely boring, but there is stuff to appreciate. I don't necessarily think that there's too much in here where I'm like, yeah, I want to show someone this. Isn't this cool? Unless you're a Mario nerd or a Nintendo historian nerd where you're like, yo, they did the thing where they swing Bowser by the tail in this movie in 86, dog. That game would do that in 96. This is a decade earlier. Oh, man, remember the blue dog Mario had? Who's a prince? You know, like, oh, that would be cool for those. But, like, overall, as both a movie-watching guy and a video game movie connoisseur at this point, Devin, this would be our 57th video game movie. This is David. This is your 7th. This is, or at least on the air, 57th one. We're connoisseurs at this point. We've seen more than most people on the planet ever will. Period. Unless they do a Marvel thing where there's 7 million a year and everyone's like, argh! We've seen more than anyone else on the history of this planet and the future of this planet. So we're connoisseurs for sure. We might not be experts, but we're connoisseurs. I don't think that I would ever watch this again. Putting the score aside for a second, I appreciate how easy it was to access, and I appreciate the fact that Nintendo doesn't seem to care that it's accessible in this form. If you were to put up the 90s Mario movie on YouTube, I'm sure Nintendo would have struck it down. And obviously, if you put up last year's Mario movie that they want you to know about and buy on Blu-ray and stuff, they would obviously strike it down. This, and they're like, you know what? We forgot it existed too. So we're fine with it. I appreciate that. And it's a part of video game movie history and video game history. This is the first video game movie, to my research, which does, for the most part, use Wikipedia. But still, this is, to my research, the first video game movie. So this is important, but I don't think it gets more special treatment than it deserves in that fashion. I love Mario, so there's stuff in here to love. But if I wasn't a Mario fan, which is hard to be not a Mario fan, I think is just a fun video game, but still, there'd be like, okay, this is things happening on the screen, and if you don't have that appreciation, if you haven't like trained that memory muscle to appreciate things that are decades older than you, of an attention span era too, that is the tastes and appeals to what entertainment is outside of what you know. If you don't have that, you're not gonna like this, obviously. But that's fair. That's fine. That's how the world works. I'm not gonna, like, just because this is my movie, try to gas it up as like, oh man, it's A, man, guys, it's A, and then settle for B. I'm not gonna do that. For my truth, this is a D. I would love to be proven wrong and have that score go up, though. So, Devin, what is this pitch for you?
Going in, well, I'll say this. When we did the draft, this was the last movie on my power rankings. And in case folks didn't watch the draft episode or don't maybe want to watch it, but, we had, I think it was 6 or 8 additional movies. So, like, ranking it last was pretty much
24,
guaranteed.
And we picked 18 in total. So, there were 6 left over.
So, like, I knew for a fact, even if this was still on the board, there was 5 other films I'm picking before this, and some of them include some Uwe Boll movies. And the reason was this, because I was just afraid going in just on the point scale, worrying, like, at best, this is maybe a C, too high of a pick. Like, there's other movies I'd rather take a flyer on. especially the fact that Nintendo forgot about it and it's been restored by fans. That it's, I feel like sometimes, and like I said, there's things I like that I'd be like, oh, I would find cool if it was something like Godzilla. Let's say a found footage film was, or a film was found or something in a vault and fans did it. Of course, I'd watch it and probably really like it. But I think we got to be realistic here and be like, yeah, this is of its era, like I said in the beginning, and a lot of what Ethan said about, in terms of if you're a video game movie historian, let's say, and you're really into this stuff, it's probably a must watch. If you're like me, like I said, I've been watching Western movies, and I watched Stagecoach because I wanted to see one of the first Western movies that was kind of big and see if anything, I'm goofy like that. I get like if the average person watched it, they'll probably be bored or maybe fall asleep. Like Ethan said, someone maybe doesn't have or doesn't want to have, I guess, the respect aspect of it going in and being like, I gotta find things to appreciate out of this, or I gotta respect the thing. A lot of people are probably just gonna be like, it sucks, whatever. Like, but yeah, I agree with Ethan's ranking here. It's a D. I went in thinking it was going to be a D or an E. I'm glad it wasn't an E because I think it'd have been just not fun to talk about. Like I said, agreeing with Ethan and what we've pretty much said this whole episode, it's cool that it exists, and I'm glad someone put in the work to restore it. It's not something I'm going to watch again. It's not something I'd recommend to anybody. We'll see if I remember it. I mean, it might come up in Applebee's trivia, or what was the first video game movie? Oh. And I'll be like, I watched that one. It's in Mario Brothers. Great Mission. Rescue Princess Peach.
Where all the 20-somethings go to party.
Yeah. I haven't been to Applebee's in 5 years. But yeah. So I'm gonna go with D. I went in thinking it was gonna be that, and I was hoping to be proven wrong, but I'm just glad it wasn't E. I think if the movie was longer, we might be talking about an E, where just the sense of this movie dragged out didn't need to be. This is a good, like you said, Ethan, earlier in the episode, it'd be good to have on Saturday morning, and they could put commercials in between it and have it stretched over 2 hours while you're eating cereal. But yeah, this is a D tier. I think this, by definition, kind of just fits in the D tier video game movie list.
Yeah. All right, D for David. What's your thoughts?
I'm not gonna rehash a lot of what you guys said. I think I agree with both of you a lot. Also, going into this, I thought this was gonna be an E, or F is for
racism.
Stuff together.
Racism, right? So E is. I thought this was gonna be an E, for enormous dump.
Hey, you did say there was racism. You felt like with the
stop.
True. Yeah, if you put on the German subtitles. No, but if you no, but I think this actually had redeeming qualities, some of them that were enough, in my opinion, to take it out of a E tier. It wasn't completely bad, but I will say, I know you guys mentioned the art sometimes. I personally think the art, it was probably better in other cartoons or animes of that same time. I don't really think the art was very good here. But I don't think this felt like something just somebody wanted to make because they were like, well, what if this existed? And they were like, sure, we can try it. It felt like an offhand thing. So I think for that, the nostalgia, the ending, there was, some not necessarily funny parts, but I blew air out of my nose at some of the jokes, maybe.
Fair.
Solid D for a normal dump, not an enormous dump.
I want to say too, actually, I meant to say for my ranking too, I think a good equivalence was one we just did, which was my last one with the Mortal Kombat, where the reason we took it out of E was because the visuals were good enough, pretty decent. And
right.
I will say this movie's probably, in that same kind of conversation, right? Where it's like, if you're into it,
man,
it's probably
I forgot
cooler.
We watched that movie.
Yeah.
That was the last movie.
But I was literally thinking about that, before we came to this episode. I'm like, I feel like it's D, but what will they say? And I'm like, well, for being consistent, I feel like it's pretty similar to like Mortal Kombat, where like there definitely was work, done to make it look as cool as they could possibly be. But like it's just kind of
Yeah.
All right, so I think
Agreed.
all three of us are in the same kind of realm here, saying it is an E, which means or it's D.
Oh, he locked it in. He locked it in.
No. Which means, funny
Give
enough,
me 3.
All three of us get 2 points because that's where the two things meet. It's like Fahrenheit and Celsius meet at 40 below zero. This is our 40 below zero at the D tier.
I'm gonna say that's not good for you, Ethan. That we maintained.
I will say this once more. I won last season by less than a point, but I won. When I picked my movies,
One and done.
all of my movies are Hail Marys, and a lot of them, this one in particular, I picked because I wanted to watch it for this podcast and just say I wanted to watch it. I'm okay.
I
being the one that takes
I was gonna say I think next year because
ended up being like a big hit. Like hell yeah, I think I deserved it being a big hit if it was. You know what I mean? But like I knew going into this, I'm like these are all Hail Marys, and I want to be surprised because who knows? I got 3 more. You guys got 4 more. Well, we're gonna review David's.
Yeah, one of mine could be an F. It's yet to be seen.
We'll talk about that later. I cut Devin off, or Devin was about to cut me off, and I kept talking, which is still whatever. Devin, what were you gonna say?
I was just gonna say the game. There's still a lot of ball to be played, but I think next year I'm gonna suggest to the committee of competitiveness, part of the Sonic Movie Show League, to think about maybe we have 3 movies that we all just agree we want to see, and then we get into actual strategy with the more random ones. I think that can make it a little more exciting. That way, you don't have to do no Hail Mary picks. AK, I want to see it.
That's fair.
Risk because I wanted this to be I want this to be a triple. I wanted to go down the wire. All 3 of us. I wanted to see my dream outcome just for the views. Cause I'm putting my like Vince McMahon hat on, with like WWE. Like I want it to without all the other issues he has, but as a competitiveness, like yes, I want to win, but then the entertainment side of me is like how cool it would be that Ethan has a lot of points.
Stories here.
Yeah. If Ethan has a lot of points at his last pick, his 6th pick there, then like David's got to get just a certain rank to like beat it out, and then but then Devin still gets what. See, they think about that, like people got to tune in to see what happens. So I'll just say that. I'm just throwing it out there. But hey, you're right, Ethan. Theoretically, you could get 3 S tiers in a row. We don't know.
It's possible.
And come out of nowhere. But yeah, I think us getting those counter picks that definitely does some damage.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Right now, I will say this as well. I'm not expecting to get any more points from this, but Devin, we have as people might have saw, the decimal points. So how does that work? That comes from the Rotten Tomatoes user score percentage. We take the percentage of the user, reviews for the film and add that as a decimal system. This is how I won last season with less than a point, because we had a couple points each gained from that in a decimal. So, Devin, is there a Rotten Tomatoes page for Super Mario Brothers: The Great Mission to Rescue Princess Peach?
I actually didn't even think about this when we drafted it, and that makes my draft board, I feel like, even just more smarter, because this is a fan movie. More smarter, yes, because I didn't do any research, but I'm just going off the knowledge you told me of like it's a fan film. But I didn't think about this.
Not a fan
I'm gonna pretend I'm gonna pretend that I did and be like, Ethan's not thinking about decimals. Ethan ain't thinking about decimals because there is no Rotten Tomatoes. Because they didn't. It's not a. It's basically a YouTube video. Honestly, at this point,
I mean, right.
I'll say, and I double checked. I like Google searched it straight. I went on RottenTomatoes.com and just looked up Super Mario Brothers, and the 2023 movie comes up. Mission Impossible comes up for some reason, and then Super Mario Brothers 1993 pops up. But I'm not seeing Rescue Princess Peach. I got to the bottom of the search page. There's no more movies. There's the Great Skycopter Rescue from 1977.
That's perfect.
Which doesn't have a movie poster, so now I'm intrigued.
A movie poster.
Poster.
With this film,
Actually, sorry, there is. I did find it, but I think it's written in a different language because it's has like the little like arrow.
Oh, do you need the Japanese to search for it?
Here, I'm just gonna post in chat. We can make a decision here because then you would get points. I think it might be Japanese, but I think but it's written out weird, but not like what I would think would be Japanese. So I don't know, but I'm gonna post it in here. If we want to count this, I'm okay with counting it. I think it's only fair if we. That's how it's spelled. Sorry, I'm linking it now. I'm just writing it out how it's. So yeah, it's like S with a U
title
with
in Japanese.
Okay. Well, the audience score is 62%. So.
Well, hey, I'm gonna take it. Unless you boys
score.
That's fine.
Unless you boys say otherwise, I'm gonna take it. Hey Siri, what's 49 plus 62? 111.
So I'm glad I kept looking. Because originally when I read that, it didn't look like the title at first. So I was like, what? And then I'm like, oh no, it does have it in parentheses here. So
okay, so then with that, my new total comes to 9/11.
Nice. As Ethan planned it.
Ominous.
3 movies in. And with your guys' counter picks, David's score is now 1227.
Yeah.
And Devin's point total is 1146. So
is Ethan going to be able to come back and take down these 2 tall towers?
Okay.
Wow.
You should see Postal then. Because they do an extensive 9/11 joke at the beginning that is weirdly
I forgot about
racist.
That.
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
Oh,
that was the first real red flag of that movie. And I'm like, okay, it's 2004. We're gonna let it pass.
Am I out of touch? Am I just being weird? No.
And then it got worse.
Must be wrong. All right. Well, thank you, boys, for hanging out here and reviewing this movie that I picked. And thank you guys for watching. But we're not done quite yet. It is everyone's.
I always forget every time.
It is everyone's favorite new sound effect-based game show. It is me, Mario. So, folks, how this is going to work. I am going to show on the screen and post in the Discord for the boys here a selection of 3 Mario characters. I'll say what the game they're from, but that doesn't really matter. And then I'm going to play a sound effect, a voice line. And you guys are going to then buzz in with your guess. First one to buzz in gets to guess whether it is A, B, or C, character 1, 2, or 3. If that is them saying this sound, this thing, whatever it is. If you get it right, you'll get 5 points. If you get it wrong, you don't lose any points, but then the other person gets to steal. So, with that out of the way, are you boys ready?
I need to lock in. I feel like I have a great opportunity to keep getting ahead here, so I'm just really focused.
That's right. Up, so. Devin has won 5 of these game shows. He's got 5 trophies above his name there.
I think I'm on a streak.
Won 2.
I think I'm on a streak right now.
Yeah, he is on a streak. Is David going to be David to catch up a little bit today? Or is Devin going to lead the pack with 3 times
about this all day.
The score of David with 6-2? We'll find out. Are you boys ready? All right. So the first 3 characters from Super Mario 64 are a baby penguin, a Boo, and Toad. And the sound effect is this.
David.
That's
got to be the penguin A.
David.
I just want to say this is rigged. You did not put it in the game show channel, which is where I was in. This is twice now.
Right.
The game show host has biases. He probably set a DM to
show. That is where it is supposed to be.
Well, Man, hey, you should have said something when he posted the 3
He said in the Discord, and he made a game show channel.
He was like, they look like this.
And it's in there now. He has this in general. Folks just see it on the screen here.
Listen, I need all the points I can get, folks. So if I can,
I know there's
cheat
collusion.
and make
well,
Ethan host in general.
Because if meritocracy was real, you'll easily win at the end, and there is a tiebreaker after all of this. So we'll see how this goes. David so far gets the first of 6 questions correct and earns himself 5 points.
Easy.
We will see.
Here comes
how
5
Devin
more
fares.
points, boys.
I know. Ethan DM'd David like, yeah, I'm gonna put it in the general channel first.
All right, now put it in movie stuff this time.
Just keep switching it. Ethan puts in a completely different channel
after you post it. Which one?
He puts it in our D&D channel. And we have to like, where is it?
Yeah.
To be fair, you did say them out loud, so I'm mostly joking, but I need to say it.
That would be funny.
So it's fair.
All right. So our next 3 are also from Super Mario 64. We have Toad, we have a Womp, and we have Monty Mole. And the sound effect for this round is this.
Devin.
I heard Devin first.
Damn.
Oh, that's B.
Must be a delay.
That's B. He go wrong.
Devin
He does that.
It is B. It is a Womp. That's what Devin thinks, but is he correct? Let's take a look as I stall here to see why. Yes, it is correct. That is a Womp.
Yes.
From Super Mario
like
64.
It's an easy one.
Womp.
So now
That would be crazy if that was Toad.
You never know with that guy. You never know with that guy. The next one,
Whoa.
next round, next question is from Mario Golf 64. Our 3 characters are Baby Mario, Toad, and Yoshi.
He's so cute.
Yes, and they are T-posing because I found the models for them off of Model Resources. The sound effect for this round is this.
David.
Devin.
I heard David.
That seems like Yoshi. That's my gut.
David thinks it is Yoshi. David, you are incorrect. Devin, you have a chance to steal.
That's brutal.
I'm just gonna go with my gut. I'm gonna go A.
Devin says
Baby
it is
Mario.
A.
He be sneezing.
I was gonna offer if you wanted to hear it one more time, but you made your
locked
guess.
In. I'm so locked in right now.
Devin, you guessed A, Baby Yoshi. Devin, you are correct.
Baby Mario. Baby Mario.
Boo.
Baby Mario. Oh, did I say Yoshi? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was like, wait, no, I didn't say. I was like about to call rigged again. I was about, he's gonna say you. David already guessed that.
I'm giving you points, and you're trying to fight me. All right, so that was question number 3. We have 3 more. David, you have plenty of time to catch up.
Plenty of ball.
I gotta start now.
There is a tie. So question number 4 from Mario Kart 64. Our 3 options are Toad, Donkey Kong, or Princess Peach. And the sound effect for this round is this.
Yeah, Peach
Devin.
got it.
I heard Devin. I'm sorry, David.
Whoa.
That's Peach. That's C. Give me lock in the C.
Yeah, I feel like.
All right.
C for Peach.
That was my gut as well.
Devin says Peach, and then he says C, and then he says C for Peach. Devin, that is correct.
Damn it.
Devin is now leading
that's not
David
good. I gotta get these last
15-5.
Come on, baby.
David, you have to get this next 2
I
correct
know.
in order to tie. And then there is the tiebreaker.
Jeez.
All right.
Not good.
That's where we bring in the closer.
Yeah, where's his internet? Where's his internet connected? How is he getting so much faster?
Pull the plug! Pull it!
It's because I'm in a higher altitude. It's the signals.
I think
are
so, yeah.
Our next round is also from Mario Kart 64. And our 3 options here are Princess Peach, Toad, and Donkey
the order. Bruh, you can't.
And our sound effect this time is...
Yeah,
Devin.
got it.
Devin.
Oh,
Give me B for Toad.
I feel
Devin
like
says
Ethan's gonna
B
be a brat and
for
do another
Toad.
Peach.
That is incorrect. David, you have a chance to steal.
A. Yeah. I had a feeling.
Yeah, B for Brat.
I was
You're
Ethan.
right.
I was Ethan gaming, thinking about what Ethan would do, and he would definitely put 2 peaches in.
I
we'll see if I'm right.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think that's Donkey Kong.
David,
I'll be
you
shocked.
are correct. That is
Okay,
Princess
yeah.
Peach.
Yeah.
The Japanese
I'm
and
in his
English
head,
have
I'm
2
in his
different
head.
voice sets of voice lines. So that was the Japanese one, which sounded vaguely, I'll just say childish to be like generous, but it seemed vaguely stupid. But I'm assuming the person's not speaking English as their primary language, so obviously that's why they have that accent.
So I thought the kid voice sounded like Keegan-Michael Key. Damn.
That's right. He was Toad in the movie. In the 2023 movie. All right, boys. We are on our final question, unless
Closer's
got to
come
tie,
in. We gotta get some outs right here. Come on.
and then we get our tiebreaker. Our 6th question here is from the video game Mario and Luigi Bowser's Inside Story for the Nintendo DS.
See, we know from the episode that David played this one. I didn't. So
then he should be able to
Thank you for
hopefully
putting
get it.
this one in, Ethan, like I requested.
Sure.
When you
I know
texted
you didn't
me,
play this
hey, I'm
game
doing
in
Mario
particular.
sounds. You should study up.
Yeah.
Our 3 characters this time are Mario, Toad, and Luigi.
Yo, Luigi got that flair. Damn.
Luigi got
Dang,
that
kind of
thing.
sus.
Yeah. Our sound effect this time is this.
David.
Devin.
I heard David.
I think that's Mario. No, wait, no. It's Luigi.
Make a pick. Which is your
It's
final
Luigi.
answer?
Luigi.
Okay. David says Luigi, the guy in green, the guy on the left. David, you're correct.
Yes.
Once
We
again,
are
the biases
all
are showing.
tied
Yeah.
up now, folks. It is
They don't like an
15
underdog
to
story.
15.
They don't like an underdog story.
It's time for our tiebreaker, the first ever on the Sonic Movie Show. We've gotten to the tiebreaker, and despite what I've said on many an episode, this is the first tiebreaker I actually had. Many times I said that and I didn't have one. I was just hoping it wasn't going to get to a tie. But this is the first real tiebreaker this time.
I'm stressed.
Our game this time for this tiebreaker is Super Mario Sunshine. And our 3 characters are Toad, Mario,
What the fuck is that, bruh?
and Il
Who is that?
Piantissimo. He is
Bruh.
the world's fastest foot racer.
He looks like a Fortnite character. What the hell?
And
I like
our
how Toad's
voice
glasses
line,
are not on.
well, yes, and also he's got like a flat texture. He's no modeled on the face, so it's just a flat texture.
Yeah.
Also, these are obviously T-posing because their model's ripped. Our voice line for this one is as follows.
Question,
All right,
no, before you play
Go
it.
on.
Is this the only round in overtime? Like, is it just sudden
This
death?
is the only round. This is for all the marbles.
Okay, because I'm going to say Devin before you even play it.
Whoa, that's crazy.
Is that allowed?
That's allowed.
That's crazy.
I'm going to go A.
33% chance.
I'm going
You're
A.
gonna Ethan it out. You're thinking he's going to go Toad.
Devin is going A. Devin thinks
That's
because I put
respectable.
Toad in every single round, it has to be Toad at some point.
Yeah, that's a good
Devin,
Ethan
you're
move.
incorrect.
All right, David.
Whoa.
So, David, it
I'm
is
waiting
between
for the
B and
sound.
C. I'm going to play the sound for you. Like when you guessed it wrong, I was in the process of offering to Devin, do you want to hear the sound again? And he just answered.
No, that's fine.
So,
that's fine.
Devin,
I shot my
or
shot.
David, rather. You get a freebie. You get to even take your time with this if you would like.
Know. It's
Here's
great.
the sound.
Arrivederci.
I mean, I'm going to be so pissed if it's C, but I'm going to go B.
It's safe,
Mario.
that's
Is that the final answer? Do you want to hear it again?
That's... He's
Arrivederci.
running in my head. He's Arrivederci. If that's not an Italian plumber, I don't know what is.
It's an
It could be
Italian
an
word.
Italian plant man. You don't know.
All right.
It could be.
Well, I got bad news for one of you. Unfortunately, the streak is
waiting.
over. David, you won.
Once you said that, I know I lost.
Yeah.
Because there would be the only other news would be, we go to another round.
You won it. You won the tiebreaker. You won the full thing.
Needed that.
Here is your third trophy. It's high above your head, up in the air. You have a platinum
of my
trophy.
new reign.
That's right. Yes. Well, thank you guys for playing.
Well, I'm just gonna say
Mario.
There's starting to be some biases shown, and I have to do some crazy stuff to get a shot at winning this thing. It's crazy.
I appreciated that you made that shot because, as David said, that would be a very Ethan thing to do, to have Toad in there at some point.
I wasn't even thinking about that. I just went straight gut. I wasn't thinking metagaming it. I literally just was like, I was just like, I don't know what it's gonna be. I'm just gonna go A.
You're close.
Okay.
Because I'm I had a feeling it wasn't C. I knew it was either Toad or Mario. That was my hunch.
I mean, he did sort of do it, Ethan, because he had Mario in a lot of them, and I don't think there was a Mario other than Baby Mario that was picked.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I also had I'm gonna have Waluigi in here, and for the Mario Kart ones, instead of Donkey Kong, I had Daisy written down, but I'm like, she's not playable in that game.
The overtime. So. The overtime, you could have done 3 Marios and just said it's one of them.
Oh.
Just to be really.
Yes, but that one's
not tell us which
fair.
Game.
Yeah.
It felt too fair. All right, boys. Thank you guys for playing. And thank you out there for watching this episode of the Sonic Movie Show. As always, we're on YouTube and podcast services. Wherever you listen to podcasts, we're on there at Sonic Movie Show. On all socials. Boys, thanks for watching this movie with me. Thanks for giving me a couple points and yourselves a couple points as well, I guess. You just can't help yourself, can you?
Thank you.
Well, we're going to see you next time. And the next movie we're going to be watching is the 2017 film Dead Trigger.
Dead Trigger.
It is included with your Amazon Prime Video subscription. I like saying that instead of free with Prime. So give it a watch if you dare. And we'll see you for the next episode of that. In between then, there'll be another episode with Devin and I, because we don't actually care for David all that much. As always, we like to say at the end of this episode, Mario out.
Mario out.
Out.